What's up, guys? It is JZNES back again with another video. Here we're talking about Press Start 2, continue. Press Start to continue. It's a pun, you know. So anyway, yeah, Press Start 2, not as good as the original, for the main reason. Here's my main complaint with the movie. In the first movie, they go to a bunch of places. It's a fucking adventure. It feels very cool and not like epic, like Lord of the Rings or something. But for their budget, I imagine it was not much. They went to a lot of places. You see a lot of variety in sets. You know, I mean, there's tons of different places they go. They do a bunch of different things. They see a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different bosses they fight and stuff. There's like none of that in this movie, which, you know, is just really disappointing. After seeing the first one and how good it was and how referential it was to things, it was great, you know, and I wanted more of that, and I got kind of more of that. There's also a big emphasis on the Giacomo trading card game in this one, which, like, is fine because they made such a big joke about it in the first one, but it just doesn't really feel like it paid off that well, like the joke. They do make mention of it at the end. He's like, aren't we supposed to get like silver arrows or like a thing that regenerates health when we fight Count Vile? And he's like, nope. So it just kind of feels like a kick to the teeth, you know? In terms of, like, we had this first movie that was great, and then we just did, like, a smaller scale second movie, which is fine, but, like, at the same time, it's just a little bit disappointing. With how great the first movie was, and especially for a fan film, how fucking amazing it was. Like, you know, kind of had that low-budget fan feel. But it looked great. It had a lot of variety. It had a lot of different references and a lot of different characters that reference things. And this one has a little bit of that, but it's just not as big or bold. And, you know, with a sequel, you're supposed to go even bigger and even bolder, you know? Which, they just didn't do. It just is so much more small scale. It basically takes place inside of one building. For the most part, and for Zach and Sam's arc, it's literally, it takes place in one room. They're in one room the entire movie. They get like I know the movie starts with them captured, and then they're in this room, and literally all they do is play Giacomo the whole time until the end where they help fight Vile, which also was a more disappointing fight than the original. Like, they use some Giacomo monsters. They use one of the new gimmicks, stickers. So it's like a Paper Mario reference where you like use the badge, you know, like the badges, like the stickers and all that to do different powers. I thought it was Paper Mario reference. Anyway, so yeah, so it just so disappointing. They add a new character, Princess Xana. Wait, Xana? Like, fucking Code Lyoko? No. She's pretty cool. She's the one who, like, has the stickers and all of that. Very feminine and typically princessy character, but she can kick some ass. I liked her. She was good, well enough. But part of what made the original movie special also was the dynamic between the three main characters there. And we don't really get to see them together except for at the ending. And it just feels like it's over way too fast. They don't really go anywhere, like I said. That's kind of the problem with the movie, is there's not a lot of variety. It doesn't feel like an adventure. It just feels like we're going along, fighting enemies, and doing this, and doing that. They're making references the whole time. I'll read off some of those in a minute. The shopkeeper guy was back, and, you know, he, like, had a few different shops there in the locations. They make some jokes in there, and it's not as good as the original, and it just doesn't even feel anywhere close to that, you know? Like, it was fine, it was entertaining enough, but, like, the original, I feel like, wow, this was, like, really cool. Like, I was impressed with the original. This one's just like, oh, yeah. kind of mediocre, you know. It's maybe what you would expect from like a fan film, or maybe a little bit lower than what you would expect from that. Especially following the first one. Like I said, it's just so much of a thing to live up to, and I don't know. It was all right, you know. That's the problem. It was just okay, you know. Um, Also, you don't have to pay for the first one. It's just on YouTube. This one is like behind a paywall. It's only $3 or whatever. Or I think it was $2. I don't know. Anyway, and you can only watch it like on Amazon and stuff. Like, it's just a little odd, you know. So, but yeah, it's just kind of like a disappointing sequel. Not as many cool things. The references also were very less like visual or whatever. It was more just they would throw in lines from old games and stuff. So like, here, let's just go through what I found for references. So there was a joke near the beginning where they're like trying to go to a different room or something, and it's like a loading screen basically. So that was a thing. At the beginning, like Andros from the original Star Fox, like the pixelated looking one, is there for a moment. I don't remember what happens to Andros from, you know, Star Fox there. They said something about Ninja Gaiden. I don't remember what that was about. They make a joke like elevator action when they're looking at an elevator. There's a scene at the beginning where Linku's fighting a guy, and it was like that whole G. Foreman thing from the original movie, so they kind of pay off that joke. It was one of the guys that was one of the 3 guys that switched around the names or whatever. But the whole fight is like a Punch-Out reference. Also, the kid from Paperboy was back in that fight. I can't remember. They said something about Mario and Sonic, so that was in there. I feel like Princess Peach, was... Like, Princess Anna was a lot like Princess Peach. That was kind of... I feel like the reference they were going for there, so... I put that in there. And then she's like... naming and she sent Linku like a letter, you know, like she does in Super Mario Brothers 3, and then she's naming off all these locations like Chocolate Island Bridge and all this stuff. So, oh my god, I forgot about this like metal version of this. This is badass. Listen to this. Yeah. Anyway, Paper Mario with the stickers. It's a secret to everybody from Zelda. I think the princess says that one. It's a weapon. It's really powerful. You know, like Barry from Resident Evil there. The shopkeeper, I think, says that one. They do, like, these little commercials in between. Like, Count Vile's back, and he, like, is running a company now. He's, like, trying to sell everybody this thing that's, like, a Wii, like, motion controller kind of thing. For like home security or something. And the whole movie he's using it too. Guitar Hero was in there as one of the references of the things that they were selling. He's trying to activate this crystal at one point that's like his main power source in the movie or something. And he says chaos control, so there's that. There was he checks things off on a list and it's like a DS, so there's that. Oh yeah, I forgot to check when this movie came out. I mean, I know the original was like 2005 or 6 or something. I think this one was probably like more 2008 or 9. The Wii was very prominently like a joke here, so I would think it would be a little bit earlier on. They were even saying the thing about how it was flying up the shelves, and then the Johnson's like, no, it's just artificial demand. This is just so people will buy it. And he's like, how does that make any sense or whatever, so... They're talking about secret seashells or whatever, and he's talking about the windfish, you know, like Link's Awakening. What is this? Oh, Hat in Time, nice. Oh god, I gotta review that at some point. That would be a fun one to go back to. Anyway, Dracula was another reference, like, you know, like from Castlevania. He was like Vlad in this one. He was like the guy he keeps calling all the time. Sam says, like, the game doesn't start until you say yes, or whatever, which is, like, from Rambo on the NES there. Referring to the Giacomo, like, of course, you know, after the first movie, what's his face? Zack's like really reluctant to play Giacomo. Um, yeah, they Linku and the princess hide in a box at one point and like sneak along like in Metal Gear Solid. Um, One of her stickers is a music box that like does the thing from Mario 3 where it puts the enemies to sleep. Um, they encounter Psycho Mantis at one point, not like called Psycho Mantis, but you know he was in there. There's this guy called Dr. Riley, but he has like a speech impediment, so he calls himself Dr. Wily. And so that's what Count Vile calls him, and he like runs off crying the other guy. And Johnson's like, oh yeah, he's really, you know, um, self-conscious about his speech impediment or whatever. I talked about the Wii motion controls thing. They mentioned Birdo at one point, like a dragon shooting eggs or something like that. Bird shooting eggs or something like that. Excuse me, princess. That's when they did. They talked about like when they were at the shopkeep. He's like, here, you could get this item to give to this person, to give to this person. And Link was like, we haven't got time for that. Like the trading side quests in Zelda. And then he's like, let's play a money-making game, you know, like Zelda 1. And she's like, sure. And then Link was like, no, that's a scam. Don't do that. He's like, you know, pick a box. It'll help you on your adventure or whatever. It's like Toad House from Super Mario Bros. 3. One of the enemies was a clock tower, scissor man kind of guy. They're doing like a Scooby-Doo, like go in between the doors kind of thing. And Pac-Man like came through one of them, so there was that. I feel asleep is what one of the guards said, like Metal Gear. Welcome to die. Get a load of this, you know, like from Sonic Adventure. Vile says that at one point. Vlad's like, he like calls him at one point and he's like, hey, I got this idea for this new social media platform where people can just go and like hang out on my Slay Station to, you know, it's just meant to be like PlayStation. Slay Station. And they can just walk around and do nothing or whatever, and so it's like PlayStation Home, which is like a deep cut reference at this point. Nobody fucking remembers PlayStation Home. Like no kids these days, you know, remember that. But obviously it was modern at the time, so it was a funny reference then. You and your friends are dead. Game over. Like Friday the 13th. What a horrible night to have a curse. You know, it's all a lot of NES references here. So yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It was alright. It's just not a very good... It's not a great, it's not an amazing sequel to the first movie, which was really creative and had a lot of really cool things going on for it. Also, the effects in this one are just, like, kind of shittier, too. They use a lot of, like, hand-drawn effects rather than, like, I don't know, like CG or whatever it was in the last one. You just kind of felt like the budget was a little bit lower on this one, you know, which is understandable, but just as a sequel to Press Start, it disappoints, you know? It's not as good. That sucks, you know? Like, and there hasn't been a third movie. They've kind of set it up to do a third movie, but it really sucks that there isn't more of this to the quality of the first movie. I know there's like an animated series or something, like Adventures or whatever it was, but, you know, like, I don't know. I would watch a Press Start 3 if they made it. I'm sure it would have a lot more kind of shitty animation because the Giacomo was kind of what they set up at the end there. They turned Count Vile into a Giacomo card. So, yeah. I just don't really think that should have been a big focus for two of the main characters to be, you know, like so focused on this whole Giacomo thing when in the original that was just like a joke, you know? Like it was funny as a joke, but when you take that joke and you make that literal and you really actually put two of your main characters playing this game the whole time and don't like establish rules or anything, you know? Like if it was like a legitimate thing, like a, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh or something where they like set up some rules And you're like, okay, I understand how this works, and you can kind of follow along, but it just seemed pointless. Like, the whole Giacomo scenes, which is like half the movie, like at least a fourth of the movie, is like really pointless, you know? It's just like, I don't know. It just seems silly. Um, but not in a funny way, just like in a, what kind of way, you know? So like, eh. Um, yeah, just very not as good by comparison, you know. Still pretty good. It's still okay. Was it still a good movie? I mean, I guess so. It was entertaining enough. If you needed more of the first movie, or if you wanted more, you know, it kind of satisfies that, but it doesn't really scratch that same itch of that adventure and the just the, I don't know. Like the first movie feels classic. This feels like, oh yeah, it was kind of like a cheap second one, you know. Um, you know, sometimes the original is always the best. Like, sometimes the sequel does knock it out of a park, but it's kind of hard thing to nail, sequels. So I don't blame them. It's still cool that they made that. You know, like, I'm not here to shit all over their sequel or whatever. Shit's hard to do. The fact that they did it at all is cool. I just really liked the first one, like, so much. It was, like, really good. I really praised that for how cool and innovative it was for the time, and just how much it references and all that kind of stuff, and this one just felt like not as good by comparison. So anyway, yeah, not much else to say about Press Start 2, you know. It was okay. But until next time, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic. Stick around for more movies, games, and underrated stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh wait, this isn't Jay-Z, it's Jay-Z versus the movies. How do I always fuck that one up? I always fuck that one up. Anyway, Jay-Z